God has given us skills. He's given each one of us something, if not more, that we excel at, that we're better at, that we know how to do, right? That we are naturally gifted in doing. Each one of us is talented in some way. Hi, I'm Mark, and in today's video topic, we're going to be diving into how to use our skills for God, right? We understand that each one of us have skills, but how do we use that? How do we apply that to using it for God? I want to start here in Genesis chapter number 6, verse number 13. It says, "And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch." So here we all know this account, right? Noah in the ark. He's been called to do this. He's been called to build the ark and save humanity, right? He has been given such an opportunity. And why was Noah called? Right? That's a question I have asked a lot of times. And one of them, obviously, is because he was a man of God. We know that he walked with God, that he was upright. We know another reason is because he found grace. God simply gave him grace that he didn't deserve. He didn't deserve to do this, but God allowed him to do it anyways because he gave him grace. But I find another reason why he did this, why he was allowed to do this, why he was called to do this, why he was told that the world was practically going to end before it was, and he was called to save humanity, is because he was skilled, because he was talented in things. He was familiar with how to work with his hands. He knew how to farm. He was familiar with farming. He was familiar with woodworking. He knew how to work with his hands, how to do those skills that were required to build this ark. So he knew how to do those things. And because he did, God gave him this responsibility. It was a responsibility, but it was also a blessing, right? He gave this to him. But how do we, in today's age, get called by God to do this, to do these things with our skills? How are we called by God to do things with these skills and be blessed for it? Well, over here, very familiar passage in, oh, looks like I lost my marker. That's okay. Over here in Matthew, chapter number 25. Matthew 25. Sorry, I lost my spot. Verse number 14. "For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods." So we see here that Jesus is telling a parable of servants, and the master left the servants his goods, his talents, which were money. And I want to make a correlation to this money that's called talents to being skills and talents in today's age. So he left them with these things, right? God has left each of us with specific skills and talents that we excel at. And it says here in verse number 15, "And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey." So we don't know exactly what he meant here by ability. At least I don't. So he could have meant their spirituality, their faithfulness to him, things like that. Just their ability, their willingness to use these things, right? That he could have meant that. But here in verse number 16, "And he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents." So the one with 5 talents went and he increased his talents. He used these talents for God, for his master. Verse number 17 says, and likewise, he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. So the one with 2, even though he had less, he still went out and doubled his. He still used them for God. And then in verse number 18, it says, but he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. So here we see the 2 servants with the more talents. They went out and they used that for God. But the one with the 1, he went and he buried it under the earth. So the first thing you need to know on how to use your skills for God is you need to not bury them. You need to not hide them. Let's just take knowing the piano, for example, which is a more complicated skill. But let's say you have this ability and you want to use it for God, but no one knows about it, right? No one knows about it. No one knows you play the piano. No one knows that you know the first thing about piano. You want to use this for God, but you haven't done anything with it. You have the skill, but you've hidden it and you're no longer using it because you feel that God has just not allowed you to use it. You know that this is what you're good at, but you're not willing to use it. What you've done is you've hidden it, right? By not telling anyone that you have this, by not showing it, by not using it, by not doing anything like that. What you've done is you've hidden it. And God cannot use a hidden talent. He cannot use a skill that is not being learned, something that's not being practiced, that's been put away, that's been put aside, right? He can't use that. So the first thing we need to do before we can be used of God is we need to not hide it. We need to not hide our skills. And that kind of goes directly with the second point, which is we need to use it. We need to practice it. In Ecclesiastes 9:10 it says, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might, for there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. So we need to take those skills, we need to not hide them, and we need to practice them. We need to get better at them and better at them and better at them. We need to just continually be sharpening that, right? That's a sword. We need to practice with it. We need to sharpen it. God is not going to use a dull blade. We need to, if we want that tool to be used of God, we need to practice it and we need to use it for God. We need to use it for Him. So we need to practice it. What we also need to do now that we know that we need to not hide it and we need to practice it is we need to make ourselves available. Now that we have done this and we've used the skill, how do we implant it? How do we use it for God? How do we actually do that? Well, we need to make ourselves available. In Genesis 6, once again, which I also took my marker out here. It says, in verse number 9, it says, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation, and Noah walked with God. So Noah was walking with God, which implies that he was available to do that, to walk with God daily and have a daily walk. God can't use you if you're not talking to Him, if you're not available for Him to use you. If your schedule is so full that there's been no time made for God, He cannot use you and your skills for Him. We need to make ourselves available that we can be used of Him, that He can use us and we can be blessed for it. We need to make ourselves available. We need to start praying and asking God, what would you have me to do with this? Right? We need to be available enough to pray and to seek His face and to read His Bible, that He could show us in His Word what He would have us to do. So we need to ask God what He would have us to do with our talents, how we can use it for Him. But lastly, we need to wait on God. In Isaiah 40, verse 31, it says here, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strengths, and shall mount up with wings as eagles, and shall run and not be weary, and shall walk, but not be faint. So what we need to do is we need to wait on God. We need to just, now that we have practiced the skill, now that we have it, now that we've held it out to him, we've made ourselves available and said, God, take this and use it for you, we need to wait. God wants us to learn patience. Patience is such an important skill to have, from just waiting in line, knowing how to wait in line, because that's also a skill. Patience is a skill we need to learn, from waiting in line to just waiting to get out of a trial we're in. That all relies on patience, being patient and waiting on God. So we've yielded ourselves to God. We've given him this and said, I have this, God. Use it for you. Wait for him. Continue to make yourselves available. Leave yourself available there. And he will take that, and he will use that, and he will use that for his glory and increase his kingdom with it, and he will use it for his power and his unction, and he will bless you mightily through you yielding your talent to God. And that is how we use our gifts, how we use our skills and our talents for God. God bless you, friend. I pray that you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.